And these were his first live public remarks on Operation Epic Fury. He called Iran a clear, colossal threat, and some key details there. He said Iran already had missiles capable of hitting Europe. They would soon have had missiles capable of reaching America. He says the purpose of these missiles was to shield Iran's overall nuclear weapon development. On Friday, he made a case for the 47 years of hostility from Iran leading up to this moment. This morning, more specific details on his decision to strike right now. And we certainly thank you so much for being here with us on NewsNation Live. I'm Natasha Zuvest in for Nichole Berlie today. The president's speech today coming as bombs continue to fall in the Middle East. Just in the last hour or so, we learned Qatar successfully downed Iranian jets, missiles, and drones launched into its airspace. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, Israeli defense forces carrying out strikes responding to rockets fired by the terror group Hezbollah. The IDF saying those rockets did not hit their targets, but its strikes in Lebanon killed dozens of Hezbollah fighters, meanwhile, including its head of intelligence. Now, Lebanon's government is banning all military actions by Hezbollah, signaling a dramatic shift in power in that country. And the U.S. is advising all Americans to leave Lebanon immediately. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey live outside of the White House right now with more on the president's address that just happened today. Tom.
Hey, Natasha. Good afternoon from the White House. Yeah, that event taking place in the East Room of the White House, and President Trump bringing up the ongoing military operation in Iran right off the top of that event. Two notable things in particular in regards to the military campaign. President Trump giving more, details as far as the reasoning behind this strike and this large military campaign, as well as updates on the timetable moving forward. So things that stood out to me, the president laying out this clear mission. We heard details from Secretary of War Pete Hegseth earlier this morning that sort of echoed what President Trump said. But three key goals as part of this military campaign, according to President Trump, saying that the U.S. wants to destroy Iran's missile capability, number one. Number two, the U.S. wants to annihilate the Iran's Navy, according to the president. And then, obviously, once again, reiterating that the United States wants Iran never to possess any nuclear weapons. President Trump has said that multiple times over the last several weeks, but again, he said it at this Medal of Honor ceremony. But also interesting to hear some of the lead up to this big military campaign, Natasha. President Trump saying that the United States warned Iran about its nuclear program and its facilities, and Iran allegedly ignored those warnings and continued to pursue nuclear weapons. And he described Iran as having a growing program with nuclear weapons as a direct threat to the United States. Like you said, the president describing some of those threats as saying Iran possessed missiles that were capable of reaching Europe and United States bases, and describing it as, quote, an intolerable threat with nuclear weapons, and they nearly had those weapons, according to the president. Also, very notable, too, with questions going around about, how long could U.S. forces be in the region? How much longer could this campaign keep going on? Natasha, President Trump shared details about that, saying that the United States right now is ahead on time projections, and saying that he originally thought this could last 4 to 5 weeks. But he also shared more about, again, what could lie ahead. Here's more of what he said during that event, Natasha. Take a listen.
We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it.
Very notable with that. Again, 4 to 5 weeks, but the president's saying we are ahead of schedule right now. But Natasha, too, we have to mention some of the incredible stories that we heard during that Medal of Honor ceremony. Stories of true heroism and sacrifice. And, some of that is very much on display literally as we speak right now in the Middle East. 4 U.S. service members have been killed so far, and the president, gave a special award of honor to those the families impacted by this ongoing conflict. And he recently said that we may potentially see more casualties on the U.S. side moving forward. But obviously, notable updates and details coming in from the president about this mission and what could lie ahead, Natasha.
Yeah, Tom Dempsey reporting live from the White House right now. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.